Hello, I'm Jan Lewiński and you're watching TVP World Talks, where every word matters. Now, the US elections are right around the corner. We'll be getting results in a couple of days, which means that not only will this be a political roller coaster, but also one that will last for quite a while. But until these emotions are over, it is important to actually analyze what mechanisms are behind these elections. How, for example, people of Central and Eastern European descent are likely to vote. What issues will be high on the agenda? We'll be talking about all this and more with our guest today, Professor Olgierd Annusewicz, political scientist from the University of Warsaw. Hello and welcome to TVP World. So let's begin with the general question. How long do you think will it take to actually get these results? It seems that the closer the candidates are running, the more difficult it's going to be not only to predict the results, but also to have this all counted down.
I think that since the first election that George W. Jr. Had won, it was like 2002, I think, or maybe earlier, there are very difficulties with counting the votes because there is very tight margin between the majority that the winner takes and the political system that is in the US. So it's about gaining electoral votes, not only popular votes.
The Electoral College. Yeah.
It makes it difficult because every state counts. Yeah? We had this situation when Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump, winning more votes in terms of popular votes than Trump, but he was better with the electoral votes. So because it's very tight, the result will be, the differences will be small. I think all people who are engaged in the organization of the elections, they will spend a lot of time to ensure that that the result will be correct. Moreover, the history from 4 years ago and the situation that we had on the Capitol Hill makes it even more fragile because everybody now are afraid what Donald Trump will do and what his supporters will do if he lost the election. So there are many difficulties. We can expect a really long time to get the final result. Well, I follow U.S. elections for quite a time, but when Barack Obama was winning, we had the elections right in the morning of Polish time, of course. Now it will take. So
it could be a long wait, and the question of what Donald Trump will do is probably one of the most often, repeated questions right now. Not just in the context of a possible January the 6th kind of scenario, but also when it comes to Ukraine, NATO, Central Europe. What do you think is going to happen when it comes to these elections? Let us say Trump wins. Do you think that it is going to be what some people are thinking about, like a geopolitical earthquake, really? Or perhaps not so much? What is your take on that?
We can say that Donald Trump is unpredictable, and many of his decisions during his first term were, well, difficult to explain. Let's put it that way. But during the first term, of course, he was making his decision. He was communicating a lot. He made this passage through social media that allowed him to avoid traditional media. So he was uncontrolled in terms of communication. But there was an administration, and the administration was filled by Republicans. And we cannot forget that Republicans, they have a long history of working for the presidential administration in the United States. So there are civil servants, there are politicians engaged who kind of hold some lines to keep Donald Trump within.
So he was kind of constrained. But some people say this time around these so-called adults in the room would not be present because Trump wants to build his own administration. He wants to cherry-pick people who are his supporters, whom he trusts. Do you think that this could actually change
well,
this?
He has this experience. I mean, if we are discussing these constraints, he probably felt them. So this experience might lead him to the decisions that, yes, he will pick people from his supporters, people whom he trusts, and avoid engaging people from the Republicans as the
establishment,
the Republican establishment. So this is one big question mark. The second is, well, again, we know that Donald Trump is more focused on the internal issues. He is talking all around about making America great again and putting all of his effort into the United States, and that means withdrawing U.S. activity, probably also U.S. money, probably also some U.S. troops from other parts of the world, meaning also Europe, meaning also the border between Poland and Ukraine, and that is something that we might be maybe even afraid what will happen when there would be this kind of the decision of withdrawing U.S. troops from Poland, given the situation.
Do you think this is inevitable? Poland's Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski said, this is a pivot that's happening anyway. The U.S. is moving its focus towards Asia. It has to focus on China. So Europe has no excuses for not being prepared. It's not just the question of Trump, returning to the White House. It is like a more long-standing process.
Yeah, but we are not talking about Europe. We are talking about a feeling of the security of the Polish society. And of course, I agree with Mr. Sikorski. Europe has to be independent and has to be, self-sufficient in also in matter of security. But if you would ask the people on the street, they feel much more safe when they know that there are some U.S. troops on Polish border.
Well, they do. There was a poll. Most participants in that poll said Kamala Harris would be the better choice. But these were Polish citizens, not U.S. citizens. Do you think there's going to be a great discrepancy between Poles around here in Poland and members of the Polish diaspora in the U.S. in terms of how they vote?
That was quite of the interesting element of the U.S. campaign, because usually Polish minority Polish diaspora in the United States, they typically support Republicans. But Kamala Harris more than once repeated that if Donald Trump will win the elections, Poles here in Poland might not feel so safe. So she was also pointing that behavior and some things that Donald Trump have said may kind of hurt of people of Polish diaspora in the United States. So there was a kind of a fight about Polish diaspora in the United States, which was untypical, because usually we as a nation are not mentioned a lot in the US elections.
So what do you think is going to be, high on the agenda for the typical voter in the U.S. right now? Because we're talking a lot about the safety of the eastern flank. We're talking a lot about rule-based international order. But it does seem, even with voters of Central and Eastern European descent, when asked, okay, so who are you voting for? And why? They often say, well, the economic situation here, the question of the border safety. Do you think that focusing on international issues is something that's going to be well received abroad, but not among the voters in the US? How important is foreign policy, really, when they are going to the ballot box and making their choice?
Well, it is not important at all. We are discussing it because this is important from our perspective, but from the perspective of the voter, there are usually two elements that make people vote or make people make a decision for who to vote. And this is first the economy, and we are not talking about the general economy, so there is a growth or something like this. We are talking about the money that I earn and the prices that I have to pay and what can I afford And if I see the progress, or if I see that there is a smaller threat from one or the other candidate, it may make me to make a decision. On the other hand, there are emotions. We have, not only in the United States, not only in Poland, generally in the democratic world, we have very polarized political situations. So politicians tend to heat the emotion to the very high temperature, and that temperature, emotional temperature, makes people decide less rationally. So there are these economical issues, of course, but on the other hand, there is this emotional part. And we can say that both candidates, Trump and Kamala Harris, they were playing on these two pianos. Trump was saying that we have to make America great again so that people in the United States will feel better on in terms of economy, and the same thing was telling Kamala Harris, showing her plan for economic growth for the middle class and so on and so forth. On the other hand, both of them were pointing that the opponent is that he doesn't fit to the role. That was the statement from Kamala Harris, and Trump was accusing Kamala Harris on following Joe Biden's footsteps and accusing Joe Biden of every evil that may happen in the United States, even using this phrase "crooked Joe Biden," and a lot of negative language.
So tapping into economic aspirations, eliciting an emotional response, geopolitics, foreign policy taking a back seat, well, that is a sobering thought indeed. But soon we will learn to what extent this was actually the case. Professor Olgierd Annusewicz was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you.
And I'm Jonasz Rewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news and updates.